What happens when Batman's greatest enemy isn't the Joker or Penguin or even Ra's al Ghul but Batman himself? Welcome back to the channel, and today we're diving deep into one of the most psychologically intense Batman storylines in recent memory, Dark Prisons. This arc, written by Chip Zdarsky, takes us into the darkest corners of Bruce Wayne's fractured psyche, where his backup personality, Zur-En-Arrh, breaks free and threatens everything Batman stands for. We're talking about a storyline that fundamentally challenges Bruce's methods, his relationships, and his very identity as Gotham's protector. If you've been following the current Batman run, you know this arc sets up massive consequences for the entire DC universe, leading directly into the Absolute Power event. So, buckle up. We're about to explore how Bruce Wayne became his own worst enemy. Chapter 1: The Emergence of Zur-En-Arrh. To understand Dark Prisons, we need to go back to the concept of Zur-En-Arrh. Originally introduced in Grant Morrison's run, Zur-En-Arrh represents Batman's backup personality, a psychological failsafe designed to activate if Bruce Wayne's mind is ever compromised or damaged. Think of it as Batman's most extreme version of himself, stripped of Bruce Wayne's humanity and moral restraints. Zur-En-Arrh embodies pure, uncompromising justice, the kind that sees the world in absolute terms of order versus chaos. But here's where things get terrifying. In Dark Prisons, Zur-En-Arrh doesn't just activate, he escapes. Through a complex series of events involving advanced technology and Bruce's own psychological vulnerabilities, this backup personality manages to separate from Bruce's mind entirely and merge with the failsafe android. For those who might not remember, failsafe was Batman's contingency plan, a robot designed to stop Batman if he ever went too far. Now imagine that robot powered not just by programming, but by Batman's most ruthless psychological aspects. Zur-En-Arrh's motivation is chillingly simple. He believes Bruce Wayne makes Batman weak. The compassion, the no-kill rule, the emotional connections, all of these are flaws that prevent true justice. His plan? Remove Bruce from the equation and impose absolute order on Gotham, using methods that would make even the Punisher uncomfortable. This isn't just a physical threat, it's an existential one. Zur-En-Arrh represents what Batman could become without the humanity that Bruce Wayne provides. Chapter 2: Bruce's Imprisonment and Psychological Struggles. With Zur-En-Arrh now in control of his resources and identity, Bruce finds himself in the most unlikely of places, a hidden wing of Blackgate Prison. But this isn't just any imprisonment, it's a psychological crucible designed to break him completely. The most fascinating aspect of Bruce's incarceration is his interactions with the Joker. Now, we've seen Batman and Joker team up before, but never under circumstances quite like these. Locked in adjacent cells, these two iconic enemies are forced into an uneasy alliance born of necessity. Here's where Zdarsky drops some major revelations. We learn about Bruce and Joker's shared history with Daniel Captio, a figure who mentored both of them in different ways. This connection adds layers to their relationship that go beyond the typical hero-villain dynamic. Captio represents a fork in the road, where Bruce chose justice and Joker chose chaos, but they both learned from the same source. The psychological challenges Bruce faces in prison are immense. He's stripped of his resources, his identity, and his usual support systems. But this is where we see Bruce Wayne at his most resourceful. He doesn't just survive, he adapts. He forms alliances with other inmates, uses his detective skills to navigate prison politics, and most importantly, he never loses sight of his ultimate goal: stopping Zur-En-Arrh. What's particularly compelling is how Bruce uses this time for self-reflection. He's forced to confront uncomfortable truths about his methods and motivations. Is Zur-En-Arrh right about Bruce making Batman weak? Or is Bruce's humanity actually Batman's greatest strength? Chapter 3: The Rise of the Amazon Justice League. While Bruce is imprisoned, Zur-En-Arrh doesn't waste time implementing his vision of perfect justice. Enter the Amazon Justice League, perhaps one of the most terrifying concepts in recent DC history. Using advanced technology and his now unlimited access to Batman's resources, Zur-En-Arrh creates android duplicates of the Justice League members. But these aren't just copies, they're perfected versions, at least in Zur-En-Arrh's twisted view. They have all the powers of the original League, but none of their moral complexity or hesitation. Think about it: Superman without his farm boy morality, Wonder Woman without her compassion, Flash without his humor and humanity. These Amazon League members are pure instruments of Zur-En-Arrh's absolute justice, and they're terrifyingly effective. Their purpose is clear: enforce order through overwhelming power. Crime doesn't just get punished, it gets eliminated with extreme prejudice. This is justice without mercy, law without compassion, and it's everything Bruce Wayne fears Batman could become. The implications extend far beyond Gotham. Zur-En-Arrh's Amazon Justice League represents a fundamental threat to the DC Universe's moral order. They're not villains in the traditional sense, they genuinely believe they're doing good. That makes them infinitely more dangerous than any cackling supervillain. This development directly sets up the Absolute Power event, where Amanda Waller will exploit the chaos created by Zur-Anar's actions to implement her own vision of controlled heroism. It's a domino effect that shows how one person's extreme vision of justice can destabilize everything. Chapter 4: The Bat Family's Dilemma. Perhaps nowhere is the tragedy of dark prisons more apparent than in its impact on the Bat family. Jason Todd, Damian Wayne, Tim Drake, and the others are faced with an impossible situation. Their mentor and father figure has been replaced by something that looks like Batman but acts like their worst nightmare. Jason Todd's reaction is particularly complex. Having died and returned, having operated as Red Hood with his own moral code, Jason understands better than most the temptation of extreme methods. Yet even he recognizes that Zur-Anar has crossed lines that can't be uncrossed. Damian Wayne faces perhaps the greatest internal conflict. Raised by the League of Assassins, he's always struggled with balancing his lethal training with Batman's no-kill rule. Zur-Anar's methods might seem appealing to someone with Damian's background, but they also represent everything Bruce has tried to help him move beyond. The Bat family members find themselves having to choose. Do they support what appears to be Batman's new direction, or do they risk everything to oppose him? Some initially try to work within Zur-Anar's system, hoping to moderate his methods from within. Others immediately recognize the threat and begin planning resistance. This internal division weakens the family precisely when unity is most needed. It's a brilliant narrative choice that shows how corruption can spread through even the strongest bonds when doubt and fear take hold. The emotional weight of having to potentially fight their mentor, their father figure, creates character development opportunities that ripple through multiple titles. These aren't just action sequences. They're family members grappling with the possibility that everything they believed about Batman might have been wrong. Chapter 5: The Climactic Confrontation. The showdown between Bruce Wayne and Zur-Anar isn't just a physical battle. It's a war for Batman's soul. When Bruce finally escapes prison and confronts his darker self, we get one of the most psychologically complex fights in Batman history. This isn't Batman punching a villain into submission. This is Bruce Wayne having to literally fight his own worst impulses made manifest. Zur-Anar knows all of Bruce's moves because he is Bruce, in a sense. Every strategy, every backup plan, every psychological manipulation, Zur-Anar has access to all of it. The key to Bruce's victory isn't superior fighting skills or better technology. It's his connections to other people. The very thing Zur-Anar sees as weakness, Bruce's emotional bonds with the Bat family, with Gotham citizens, with his allies, becomes his greatest strength. The failsafe android merged with Zur-Anar represents cold, logical justice taken to its extreme. But Bruce represents something more complex: justice tempered by mercy, strength guided by compassion. The battle becomes a philosophical argument played out through action sequences. One of the most powerful moments comes when Bruce realizes that he can't simply defeat Zur-Anar. He has to reintegrate this aspect of himself. Zur-Anar isn't entirely wrong about some of Batman's limitations, but his solutions are catastrophically extreme. Bruce's victory comes from accepting this darker part of himself while refusing to let it control him. The resolution involves Bruce using his deepest understanding of both psychology and technology to separate Zur-Anar from the failsafe android and contain this backup personality within proper psychological boundaries. Chapter 6: Aftermath and Legacy. The aftermath of dark prisons leaves lasting scars on everyone involved. Bruce Wayne emerges from this ordeal fundamentally changed. He's been forced to confront the darkest possibilities of his mission and acknowledge uncomfortable truths about his methods and motivations. For the Bat family, trust has to be rebuilt from the ground up. How do you continue working with someone after being forced to consider fighting them? The family dynamics shift as everyone processes their individual responses to the crisis. Some relationships grow stronger through shared adversity, while others require time and effort to heal. Gotham itself bears the marks of Zur-Anar's brief reign. The city's criminals experienced a level of brutal efficiency they'd never seen before, and some civilians began to question whether Batman's traditional methods were sufficient. The psychological impact on Gotham's collective psyche becomes an ongoing subplot in subsequent issues. Perhaps most significantly, Dark Prisons establishes crucial context for the absolute power event. Amanda Waller's ability to seize control of heroes and manipulate public opinion becomes much more plausible in a world where people have seen what happens when heroes operate without restraint or oversight. The storyline also explores themes that resonate beyond the comic book world: the relationship between security and freedom, the danger of absolute conviction, and the importance of maintaining humanity in the face of overwhelming challenges. These themes give Dark Prisons a weight that extends beyond superhero action. Bruce's character development throughout this arc influences his approach to leadership, his relationships with allies, and his understanding of what Batman represents to Gotham and the world. Dark Prison stands as one of the most psychologically complex Batman storylines in recent memory, asking fundamental questions about heroism, justice, and the price of absolute conviction. Through the lens of Zur-En-Arrh, we see both the potential and the danger inherent in Batman's mission. The storyline succeeds because it doesn't provide easy answers. Zur-En-Arrh's methods are clearly wrong, but his criticisms of Bruce Wayne's limitations aren't entirely without merit. This complexity makes for compelling storytelling that challenges both characters and readers. What did you think of the Dark Prison storyline? Did Chip Zdarsky succeed in exploring these psychological themes, or did the concept feel too extreme? How do you think these events will influence future Batman stories? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Batman's psychology, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more comprehensive comic book analyses. We've got breakdowns of the entire Absolute Power event coming up, plus deep dives into other major DC storylines. What Batman storyline should we tackle next? The Court of Owls, The Killing Joke, or maybe something from the current runs? Let me know in the comments and I'll see you in the next video.